Welcome to the Angel Rewatch, a spoiler-free retrospective podcast on Angel. I'm William.
And I'm Derek, and this is a podcast for Supersymmetry, originally airing November 3rd, 2002, written by Sarah Fain and Elizabeth Kraft. The episode opens with Fred getting one of her physics papers published in a journal. She has been getting back in the physics game, and this is a big win for her. In fact, she gets asked to give a speech at a lecture hall. It's all very exciting. Angel, Gunn, and even Wesley all end up going, though obviously not together. At the lecture hall, Fred runs into her old professor, Seidel. Seidel is who got Fred into physics in the first place. Gunn feels incredibly out of place at the lecture hall because he knows next to nothing about physics. His uncomfortability pales in comparison to Lila's, though, who shows up tailing Wesley. She is hurt to see how enamored Wesley still is with Fred. As Lila walks out of the hall, Angel spots her and a portal opens above Fred's head. Some Lovecraftian serpent CGI abomination attacks Fred. Angel and Gunn kill it, and everything is okay for Fred, but something is seriously wrong. Angel and Gunn look into it more, and they discover Fred isn't the only student of Seidel's to go missing. Fred meets with Seidel and stumbles upon the same revelation. Seidel has been whisking away his most intelligent and promising students to hell dimensions for years. The team decides they need to do something about Seidel, and Fred's solution is cold-blooded murder. Gunn and Angel obviously disagree. They confront Fred likewise, or at least they think they do. While Fred agrees with them to their face, she secretly goes to meet with Wesley. Wesley chooses this opportunity to drive a wedge between Fred and Gunn. He drives Fred to kill Seidel, but Gunn and Angel have already arrived. Angel confronts Seidel, and the nutty professor summons a demon to attack Angel. While Angel is distracted fighting the demon, Fred arrives and goes after Seidel. Gunn meets up with both of them, and just about as Fred to go full-tail crazy, she opens a portal to Hell Dimension. She tells Gunn she won't kill Seidel, she will just send him there. Gunn tells her that's just as good as killing him. And he also tells Fred as if she does this, he will lose her forever. But that doesn't convince Fred. So Gunn kills Seidel and throws him into the portal himself, and it closes up. Fred and Gunn lie to Angel and tell him that Seidel opened the portal himself and fell inside. At the Hyperion, though, Angel has other matters to deal with other than Fred and Gunn's lies. Cordelia is back. The stuff with Connor has gotten super weird, so Cordelia has come back to Angel to give herself some space. She tells Angel that she is the same person she was, but she has to know something. She asks Angel if they were in love, and that is the end of the episode.
That is a heck of a way to have a cliffhanger.
Is it?
I liked it. I thought that...
Good for you.
I mean, I don't know how much more they can tease the audience about will they, won't they.
Yeah, just have the will they, won't they, have her make out with his son, so... Yeah,
that's what... Maybe I was more excited because she got the hell out of where her and Connor were staying.
The creepy incest den. Yeah, that's not great.
Yeah, all of the Connor stuff gave me a very nauseating feeling, as I think it should. I think that's what they were going for.
Okay, so we want to... All right, I guess we're getting to that right off the bat.
I mean, I think that is like the least important thing in the story.
Is it the least important thing, or is it the thing that you don't want to talk about the most?
It's something that I want to get... Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Here is my issue. One of my, many issues with the Connor incest thing. Number one, I don't see the point of it besides being gross, and I don't think that justifies it. The big thing is, though, that this whole love triangle mess degrades Cordelia to the point where she is just a love interest for Angel, and that sums up her entire arc into being that the only thing that's really important is that she was in love with Angel. At least that is what we have gotten so far. Because it's the focus of nearly all her scenes is either it's Angel pining after her, or it's her making out with Angel's son. And how weird that is. And that is my issue. Moving on. What do you have to say about it?
Well, I mean, the majority of her story is about her trying to rediscover who she was. But they really haven't done a very good job of doing anything but like surface level stuff where she's kind of acting like Cordelia. But what the story is circling around, yes, you're right about. It's literally her getting pulled in two different directions towards these men.
It's not about. It's not.
Or boys to men, whatever.
Boys to men. It is not about her discovering who she is. It's her deciding which. I was trying to think. They don't have a family name, so which two angel? I don't. What do you call them? Angel. Because the family doesn't have a name. Because it's just he's Angel like Cher, but Connor's legal name is Connor Angel. So
isn't Angel's Geraldo?
Oh, that is
Geraldo Angel.
Yeah, that is true. So his last name is Angel, and illegally, I guess. Liam doesn't have a last name either, does he?
Not that we know of, no.
Okay, anyway. Yeah. So, between Angel and Connor, it's not about, and that is my issue. If it was about her discovering who she is, that'd be one thing. But really what it comes back to is just making her this weird prize in this stupid Connor Angel thing.
Yeah, and it was nauseating. I was like, literally, it was bad enough at the beginning of the episode when, Connor sneaks into the hotel to grab some of her stuff, and she steals the covers. And I was like, oh, that's disgusting. And then I made the same face whatever the Angel makes. But then we actually see the makeout, and I'm like, oh no, make it stop, make it stop, make it stop. I'm glad they had the scene where Cordelia talks to him.
Yes. I like...
Very necessary.
I like the... well, that's a relative term. It's better than the first part. After the kiss, what Cordelia does is much better than before that.
Right.
When she talks to Connor and tells him that this is inappropriate, and then she goes to Angel, and I have problems with the fact that she asks him. The only thing she wants to find out is if they were in love, like nothing else, because apparently she's the same person because she fought whatever stupid things. But I like that she goes to Angel. That she just separates herself from Connor because she recognizes that this is unhealthy. And he is staring at my boobs all the time. But yeah, no. So it comes up in feedback again, as you would expect. So I would really like to move on for now.
Yeah, we can move on for now.
Okay. So I might as well just talk about Fred.
Right. I liked what they did with this episode. In previous episodes, we've seen her not revert, but when something similar happens to her, she kind of encloses on herself, and I like how they made references to how she started writing on the walls again whenever she gets attacked, but the switch whenever she finds out who did it to her, that kind of darkness that just kind of explodes out of her, I thought worked really well. And especially there's like this look that she gets that's super like almost terrifying for such a tiny woman, that like she is literally going to kill this man.
And she doesn't. No, I really do like the Fred stuff, and I even like how this maybe not starts, because there's been some hints, but further separates maybe Gunn and Fred, or at least gives them more problems. Because I like how it builds off of other things we've seen. That Gunn she doesn't seem to mind that Gunn, at least we don't really see it, that Gunn doesn't understand physics, but it is a insecurity thing for Gunn, where he doesn't feel as smart as she is.
Right.
So I like that. And then, I don't know, I understand the point of him telling her that if you do this, I'll lose you. But I don't feel that as strongly as him being uncomfortable at the lecture hall.
Yeah, I'm kind of there with you. Like, one feels rather natural, the other feels kind of forced or manufactured.
Well, it happens because it kind of has to happen, but there's not like a whole lot of build-up that... We haven't seen Gunn be concerned before about Fred's anger issues.
Yeah.
Because right when she attacked Connor, he was kind of like maybe stop tasing him, but he was right there with her.
Right.
But if when she had gotten angry before, Gunn was like slow down, but we haven't seen that as much as him being uncomfortable about her being smarter than him, or at least more studied, I guess. She has more formal education. I wouldn't necessarily say that Fred is smarter than Gunn in all areas. Because Gunn's not an idiot. She's more educated than Gunn.
Yeah. How did you feel about them? I guess it's not even a triangle anymore. It's a square.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, obviously, they're kind of setting up this tension and tug and pull. There's, the rift with Gunn's insecurities, and I assume this will have consequences, killing Seidel for their relationship, but also Fred going to Wesley, and then Lila getting brushed off again. But
see, I find it very interesting that Wesley is still holding on to this affection for Fred.
Obsession.
It's really, they're still not treating it like an obsession, at least in my mind. It's that he has genuine feelings for her and she doesn't return those feelings. And what it really is he's obsessed with her. But you can ignore that in this particular episode because they don't really define it, that he is still holding on to his past life even though he has Lila. And Lila just seems happy to be with him. Mm-hmm. But he is not happy being with Lila. Or at least he's not fulfilled by that.
He wants the unobtainable?
Well, he wants Fred, but he also deep down wants to be a part of Angel Investigations, but his pride won't let him go back there. Even though Angel has invited him back.
What I found really interesting was in the scene where Fred goes to Wesley, he ends up picking up a book. Like, we'll find a suitable thing to get Seidel, and the way she kind of like hovers over his shoulder was very reminiscent of like earlier seasons, and like just how naturally like he could like how it felt like he was reverting to his older self, even how he kind of stammered earlier in the conversation when she's like, "You were following my work." He was like, yes. So again, it's like the bravado and the dark, edgy Wesley that he's been building up kind of just gets layered away. Like, underneath, he's still kind of that insecure, little nerdy guy that's still pining after her or whatever. So I enjoyed that scene. So I don't mind them heading in this direction. Like, usually triangles or, again, rectangles, squares, whatever, can bother me, but as long as they're feel natural, because like Fred hasn't really shown any interest in Wesley, right?
That would be my issue. Right. If she ever shows affection for Wesley, you're going to have to convince me why. It can't be that. Like, I find it interesting that there are problems in both Gunn and Fred's relationship and Wesley and Lila's relationship that just don't relate at all to the square. The problem I would have if, hypothetically, Lila and Wesley break up and Gunn and Fred break up, that then Wesley and Fred deserve to be together or should be together with no build-up. That is my issue. But that hasn't happened yet. I like how they're using the square to underlying problems that are already there in the two established relationships.
Right. And it'd be one, like, obviously the Fred and Gunn relationship, like, having insecurities, that's not enough to undermine that relationship, but maybe taking a human being's life.
Well, yeah. It's having insecurities and what that causes Gunn to do.
Right.
It's not a deal breaker that he's somewhat insecure, but what the insecurities make him do. And I'm not saying that that's why he kills Seidel, because he feels Fred is smarter than him. I think he kills Seidel because he doesn't want Fred to do it.
Right.
And that's may lead to some resentment. Or I don't know what. It's not going to be good.
Yeah, and either way, it would have resulted in the same kind of... it would have been different. It wouldn't be as extreme. But say Gunn had saved him and the portal closes, Fred is going to resent him for the rest of his life. In some respect. Or
he doesn't do it and Fred does it, then what happens? And it's an unwinnable situation. Right?
Exactly.
Because
is nice. Like I like that.
Yeah. And I think we get to, I don't really, the twist of Gunn's killing Seidel and snapping his neck and all that, I don't think that is particular, but getting us to that situation is, and feels natural given what we've seen Fred do before and Gunn's objections to that. I think mostly Gunn killing Seidel is a twist that is probably going to be, or hopefully, it's Gunn, so who knows. Hopefully it will be given some context later, or he will explain himself later. But it's Gunn, and they may just leave it for about 3 episodes, and then Fred will blow up about it, and then who knows? Because, it's Gunn. They don't care.
Yeah, I'm always crossing my fingers that they decide to not just do something with Gunn, but develop him, That'd be great. That'd be really great.
Like he's a character on the show and not just a thing.
That's fake.
He does come off nice when Fred's freaking out, but that's nothing new. He's good with Fred, but that doesn't really mean that he himself is interesting.
Right. I did think they're not Wes and Lila are not the only sexy couple. They had the opening or whatever. Whenever he starts reading her article.
You really just want to talk about that? Is that
no?
Of all the things you want to talk about,
they explored
their bodies.
They explored different avenues of their relationship.
Okay, sure.
They're not just this cute couple, right? I liked Gunn. Also, so Gunn being kind of insecure was really nice, and they also he has that like little line where he like talks to Angel like, "Hey, next time can you also speak up so I'm not the only one that looks like an idiot?" I actually really like that line. So they did some stuff with Gunn in this episode. I'm like thrilled with what they've done with him so far. It will take a lot. I don't know what they would have to do for me to be satisfied with his development.
I don't know either, honestly, because we've talked about this before in the Gun-centric episode, that really they could do anything because they're not doing anything with him. If they wanted to develop him, I think it's an interesting idea. If they want to develop that he feels insecure about his place on the whole team because, we've talked about that he has the muscle. What does he really have to contribute? It'd be a nice kind of meta story if that becomes Gunn's story that he doesn't really have a role on this team, so why is he here? And then they could come up with something, but then that also requires that they need to give a crap about Gunn.
Yeah, they must give a little bit of crap because of what they're doing with the story here, but yes, they need to do something.
Yeah.
Something more. I just want more.
Yep. Okay. I really don't have much more to say that's not feedback.
We did get them. They talked me in the chatty rooms.
Yeah, I was going to talk about the feedback.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, Angel doesn't do a whole lot. I find his photographic memory thing bizarre.
Really? I actually kind of like that scene.
I like the scene, but you think we're 4 seasons in and he hasn't done this once, and I think as a detective, maybe having a photographic memory and being able to remember anything in the room, that might have come in useful once or twice.
Maybe. Yeah, you're probably right, but
I'm definitely right.
Okay, while I was watching, I never got bothered by that scene. Like, I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's something different that they haven't done before.
Yeah, but why hasn't he done it before?
I don't have an answer for you.
No, well, his answer is, it just came in as an instinct that I just remember that I can do all this cool crap. Isn't this weird? No, it's dumb. Stop it. You should have been doing this, I don't know, countless times. With his photographic memory that he can remember where everyone was sitting in a room. Like some kind of Sherlockian... What it reminds me of is like a really... Not that it's better than that, but it reminds me of a really crappy crime procedural where the main character is quirky and weird and probably autistic, but he has these super powers, kind of, that he can just envision things. There are good examples of that. Most of them are bad. But I just find it very bizarre that in 4 years, Angel has never done this. And it doesn't really even add much to it. Because they eventually... I was going to say finger the guy, but they do finger the guy. They figure out that the guy behind them, the guy from iCarly, is somehow involved, or that leads them on the trail to Seidel. But they could have done that in many different ways that didn't just somehow layer on this thing that Angel has a photographic memory.
It gives Angel something to do.
Yeah, because he doesn't do it.
Exactly.
Besides fight that demon.
And then gives the episode a red herring, which again makes it feel more like a procedural episode, but...
That's fine. That's not the issue. My issue, when I compared it to a crime procedural, is that I just hate the glut of shows with the main character who's autistic but has these really smart powers that can solve crime, but they don't know how to talk to people. Which, again, is Angel, but it is a better version of that.
Yeah, that's true. I also like... it's... before we move on to feedback, I also like Angel threatening Lila again, but really I like it for Lila's side.
Well, yeah, because... Joseph has brought this up, that he has given her so many threats and not followed through on any of them. And now, at least they're bringing that up in the actual show, that Lila's not too intimidated anymore by Angel telling her that they're going to have a conversation.
Right. Something happened to Gidget?
Mm-hmm.
Did she go off into the big Texas sky? She had some of the best lines. I like every time they write for Lila.
So, speaking about Texas, I had thought it was a weird line where Angel said, well, Lauren asked, I thought I heard screaming, and Angel says, it's a Texas thing. Well, I think it's a Texas thing. What do you make of that being from Texas?
They have her, say yeehaw at the beginning of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
I ignored it mostly.
Okay. I thought that was weird. Anyway, we can move on to feedback. What, you reminded me of the big Texas.
I kind of wanted to be like the same thing. I was like, wait, is that a thing that people think about Texas?
Yeah, that's what
they were loud? Or...
I'd never heard that before.
Yeehaw!
I guess.
Shoot. Now I'm thinking of the Lego movie. Okay. We can move on.
All right, sure. So first up, we had Kathleen, who said, good step up from last week's episode, except for the Connor and Cordy interactions. That was a few staircase down floors of steps from Sedge towards Bethlehem. Connor making the moves on his surrogate mother, even though he doesn't remember it, is too icky to discuss. Moving on, I liked Fred getting back into physics and how they used this episode to get back what brought her into the series to begin with. Can't believe her professor would go to that much trouble to get rid of her by sending her to another world, but I like Fred's reaction to the truth and where it took her character along with guns. It's amazing how they can change what Fred is capable of in one episode, and that Gunn was capable of killing the professor. That's going to take some time for the couple to get through this. As for Lila and Wes, still hot, even though when he's brushing her off to go stalk Fred.
So, thank you, Kathleen. Quick comment on the Connor Cordelia stuff.
I thought we were done.
I know. As much as I said I like the fact that they had Cordelia, talk him down or whatever, it also still bothers me because as much as the show is kind of recognizing that this is gross, they're also like, the fact that they're pointing it out makes it like, why is this happening in the first place?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. You are correct.
Again, because he's like, I guess he's 18, whatever. It bothers me. I guess.
What is the point besides being risque? And I don't. What is the point, really, in the larger? Let's talk about incest. What is the point about incest stories? Because I have never, and it is actually, the more I think about it, is a surprising amount of incest that I've watched on TV. But what is the point of incest besides being dirty and unclean? Like, I've never seen, oh, well, that was completely necessary that you had incest in this story.
In terms of this show, again, I think it's just more, we need to put more of a wedge between Angel and Cordelia. We need to...
That's dumb.
Buy time, basically. I mean, I think it is dumb, but if there is no larger goal, then yeah, I don't... And especially if they're moving away from it, like...
Yeah, so why...
Then I don't see the point. But...
I mean, it comes up in Joseph's voicemail about Connor's weird attitude issues towards Angel, where he seems to think that Angel's somewhat abusive, but then we're forgetting that Connor tried to murder him. So, anyway, whatever. Dumb. Stupid things.
It's also kind of like Connor, the way... It's not just that it's incestual, it's how Connor is trying to, like, almost like an ownership thing over her. He's kind of like predatory and like trying to take the power in the relationship because he's like, oh, I can train you.
Okay, yeah, that, all right, yeah. Never mind, you convinced me otherwise. I was going to say that I don't think it's quite that. I think it's more that he wants to be Angel.
There probably is a degree of that in it as well.
That's what I got from the training, but the way he comes up, he wants to be the hunk. He wants to be Angel. But the other thing is that Angel, and that's a whole other issue with Cordelia not having her memory, is that she can't help but be at the mercy of other people, and that's just not Cordelia.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you take Angel's kind of hero-ness and put it on Connor with Cordelia without her memories, it just comes off as creepy. But when Angel did it, it didn't, because Cordelia would never let him be that creepy because she was, Cordelia, and she had her memories.
Yeah, I think it's the nature of the story that they're telling now that makes it feel so off, because Cordelia isn't quite Cordelia yet.
But I did like her saying that she doesn't need protecting by anybody. So hopefully we're moving away from that. Even if she doesn't get her memories back, she won't be so reliant on other people.
Right. So Fred and Gunn, again, I like anytime they can get Amy Acker to do more. I think that they have had glimpses in previous episodes of what she can do as an actress. And again, like that switch that happens in her when she's like, I'm going to kill him. And the kind of...
She is so creepy when she's standing in the doorway. When Angel and Gunn have really come to the realization that Seidel is the bad guy, and she's just kind of like a statue. She doesn't look human. It helps that she was just in Seidel's office, so... We don't really know how she got there so quickly.
Right.
So, but my immediate reaction is that wasn't Fred. And it kind of isn't Fred because she's so possessed by revenge. And when she takes out the weapons, it's real creepy and effective and good.
Yeah, you're right. There's such a stillness to her in that scene that it's
she's
really
so consumed by rage.
Right.
That she's rigid with rage, like it's coursing through her body. And even if, we got it with really, it's only been one scene that we had her tasing Connor in the heart, but the way that she plays it so completely, I buy that she is this angry about it, and this is in her character. To be this upset. Even if it's a big emotion. To just kind of spring. Because I do sort of spring it on her.
Yeah, it is true.
But it works for how well she plays it. Because the writing side, I don't think it's that fantastic.
Well, you're probably right. I think it's just, again, the performance that really sells it for me.
Which, again, is not to... if anyone's going to make this comparison, it's not that it's down to J. August Richter's fault that Gunn doesn't have a personality. Because you can do something with acting if the writing isn't as strong, but they're just not giving him anything to work with.
Right, exactly. They're not having him have a revenge storyline.
Yeah, they're not... even if the revenge storyline is not that built up.
It's not...
Like,
but
we
it's something
gotten...
he can do.
When Fred says... Sorry, let's stop talking over each other. When Fred says to Wesley that Charles doesn't have it in him, and that's what I love about him, that really hasn't been established in Fred's character, that she has this hard streak. At least there's not a long history of Fred taking a hard line. There's a history of Fred showing compassion towards people, but not taking revenge against people who deserve it.
Yeah, I find that line really... I was going to say interesting. I don't know exactly the word I would use for it, but I kind of was like scoffing at Fred because I'm like, well, no. I know that you're in murder mode right now, but I didn't know you had this in you.
That's
either.
What I'm saying.
Like, you were more in Team Gunn kind of personality, and then suddenly you've just 180'd.
But it works because of the performance is what I'm getting at. Because the writing is not that, or at least the plotting of it is not that great. But I believe that Fred now has this in her just from this episode and the performance.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's so
all I was getting at in my rambling talk.
You ready to move on to Joseph's comment?
Mm-hmm. And it is a long one, but we're going to play it all because I would like to stop talking for 5 minutes.
So next up we have a voicemail from Joseph.
Hey guys, this is Joseph calling with some thoughts on Supersymmetry, but first let me say I'm very sorry for falling behind, especially because I love Season 4. I remember it as my favorite season of any of the Buffy or Angel seasons, and my general memory is that there are a couple very low lows, but that the highs are so high that this is one of my favorite seasons of any show anywhere. So I'll see if that holds up on Rewatch, and if so, I will do my best to explain to Derek how somebody could love this season as much as I love it. On Supersymmetry, I thought this was a really great episode. I don't think it hits anybody's top 10, but I think it is just really well put together, and it hits on almost all cylinders. I am not a huge Fred fan, and a lot of it is because everyone treats her like she's this manic pixie nerd girl and so wonderful, when a lot of her quirkiness is from being a trauma victim, and people seem to just not just ignore it but forget about it. And I thought Amy Acker did a tremendous job showing Dark Fred. She was weird and funny and quirky and also super dark. When she was waving all those weapons around, she was still being silly in a way that was very plausible to her character, but also really scary, and I thought that was great. Also, I noticed a few times just how dark her eyes were. She has pretty dark eyes naturally, but I thought maybe she was wearing contacts just to accentuate the fact. I also really liked Wesley was incredible. His sort of vulnerability in the car, the fact that he has to give her good advice, even when he's sort of encouraging her to pull away from the rest of the group and towards him, is all very Wesley, and it was very cool. I also really liked him and Lila. This season has reminded me why I like their relationship. He has some obvious affection for her, and he also simultaneously really clearly hates her and himself. And they kind of both come out at the same time. Again, they're both just crushing the acting, and you can see that Lila's into it for some reason. Even when he's really spitting poison at her, she likes the challenge, and I think she likes him. So it is a doomed, dark, fascinating relationship, and thumbs up. Everything else was great. Almost everything else was great too. I loved Angel's memory trick. The writing in this is really funny. It's sort of classic Whedon, that they're lightening up all the dark story matter with what must be a dozen funny lines, and hopefully Alicia will summarize and get them all. But for me, the champion has to be, "Come on, I'm holding your head." But all the others are really funny too. The only two things I thought, and one more great thing, I am not hugely into the Angel-Cordelia relationship, but I thought the stinger at the end was very effective. I think a lot of all that noodling about the relationship depends how much you trust the writers, whether you think this is going somewhere interesting or whether you think they're just killing time. At that point I thought, wait, maybe they do know what they're doing, and at that point I cared about it, so thumbs up for that. The three things I think are not super great. Gunn just doesn't have enough background to pull off his twist. It sort of made sense in character when he reveals that the reason he doesn't want Fred to go dark is because he's afraid he'll lose her. But he's a sidekick. We just don't know enough about him for me to see that coming, or for me to really care about that conflict with Gunn. Although, of course, I wish him all the best. And then the other two things that were problematic, I think, were Connor generally macking on Cordelia. And some of that depends on whether you're willing to squint and see what's in the continuity, or whether you insist on seeing what's on the screen. If you squint, this is a story about a 21-year-old woman, an 18-year-old Hell Dimension escapee, and his father, who also looks 17 or 18, in kind of a Dawson's Creek love triangle, which is really weird and kind of messed up, but not as weird as what's on the screen, which is a late 20s pregnant woman being macked down by someone who plausibly could be 16, and a 30-year-old guy competing with his son for the attention of this woman, which is super creepy. So I don't know where they're going. I think it would... And the other problem I have is it's just incredibly difficult to have any sympathy for Connor. He feels kind of bad about throwing his father in the bottom of the ocean, but whenever he sees his father, he acts like he's an abused kid and resents his father, when in fact, he now knows that Angel, other than being a vampire, hasn't been anything but nice to him. It's a little bit like Kate. He's just yelling at Angel without a super great motivation, and since Angel is our title character and the one we empathize with, it leaves me without a lot of stake in Connor. But subject to those couple quibbles, I thought it was really good. I'm hoping that the show keeps hitting at least as hard as I remember, and I am super looking forward to season 4. Talk to you soon.
So, thank you, Joseph. Yeah, his summary of what's wrong with the Cordelia, Connor, Angel triangle pretty much nailed it on the head.
Mm-hmm. So that's where you want to start? Because there's a lot to unpack. So you want to start there?
Yeah,
Because we can start there. I will say, to transition to this being his favorite season, that the Cordelia Connor thing is why I think this season is hot garbage. So I will try to separate myself from that, because I actually have enjoyed the Lorne, Wesley, everyone that's not there. I was going to list them all, but then I'm like, well, it's every character that's not those two, so.
And I'm wondering, so is the as an audience member, are we supposed to be doing the squinting? Are we supposed to be following what is supposed to be continuity? Or are we... because basically as it comes across on screen is completely different than what the facts, quote unquote, are.
Yes. I don't think we can say. Yet.
Right.
I think we will be able to make by the end of the season, at least that is my hope, that we will be able to come to opinion that this is creepy or that this is weird but kind of okay given the actual facts of the situation. Because I don't think anyone can say it's normal. But what degree of weird is it? Like, is it normal angel weird, or is it this just makes us uncomfortable to watch and we don't know why it's here?
I think, again, it's probably what the writers do from here.
Yes.
Like, if they, again, it's where is this going a lot of the time, but they also have actively not had Cordelia go, well, I'm a 21-year-old woman and you're an 18-year-old man. You know, like they haven't actually divvied up the facts.
Well, and then I think they kind of divvy up the facts when she sits down with him and is like, listen, you used to be a baby 8 months ago, and now you're sticking your tongue down my throat. I think we need some space. But I think it's a wait and see thing, but I don't like waiting because it is hot garbage. It's a flaming piece of crap so far. And hopefully they'll be able to douse the flames, but then it's just a piece of crap then.
Stinky.
It's stinky and icky. Have you noticed that she's pregnant yet?
Yes.
Okay, because I will be honest, I did not know the entire season. But now that I know she's pregnant, I have noticed in this episode she is wearing a lot of big shirts.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just something by watching week to week that it becomes more obvious.
I would think it become more obvious binging it like I did, but I did not. I embarrassingly had no idea.
I mean, maybe it's like when you're binging, you kind of. I think of like those like flip book sketches that it seems more gradual.
That could be true.
But when you go week to week, you see the more drastic change.
Yeah.
This recently happened in The Walking Dead. There's a character who the actress is pregnant, and they keep having her dressed in like
and she's standing behind pots.
They had her standing behind a wood plank. She's wearing like a hoodie or dark colors, like a black shirt. It's really distracting because she was like kind of twiggy last season. I was like,
I think if you, well, you may be able. I'm bad with this. I am, and this is really isn't. There's so much in Joseph's comment besides this, but I think now that I had no idea that Charisma Carpenter was pregnant, so I wasn't looking for it. But now that I know that she is pregnant in this season, I can't. I think it is one of those things where if you know, then you may not be affected by it. But once you know, you can't not see it.
So we've now infected the audience listening to the podcast.
Well, I'm going to assume if they're listening to this, they know. But if I'm sorry. Charisma Carpenter is pregnant.
Yeah.
Joseph brought it up. I mean,
yeah, that's
true.
So. What else? I do again. I like the Fred Wesley car ride. I like what Joseph brings up there.
Is he giving good advice? Because I guess he kind of does, but then when he talks about Gunn, that is typical Wesley being a douche.
It's the duality again that I like. The fact that
I don't think it's bad. I'm just saying that I walked away from that scene thinking that, oh yeah, you're still awful.
Well, he does the right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does do that. I will give him that. But then he's like, I wonder why Gunn's not here and I am. Interesting.
Do you like me? Do you like me? I think that's what he's screaming in his head.
Yeah,
like
basically. But it's also like, well, I'm here and Gunn's not. I guess we know who really understands you, don't we?
Hmm.
I'm going to go back to my house with my crazy girlfriend gave me a helmet.
That he loves, and it's super expensive.
Yep. But he still ditches her ass to go look at Fred. Anyway. The only thing we can talk about is I look forward to people trying to convince me that Season 4 is not a piece of hot garbage. Because Joseph has said he likes it. Canum, who messaged me on Twitter, who is busy but is going to leave a comment at some point, also says he loves the season. So there are two defenders out there. They do exist. But I still think it's hot garbage.
Maybe I can help as well. There are certain story elements that I enjoy.
I think I do enjoy certain story. The next episode I actually enjoyed quite a bit. I could be incredibly disappointed. At
the same time, what I've been trying to do on Rewatch has been trying to go blank, like go in as clear-minded as possible and put my preconceived.
Well, I think from this point forward, obviously we can't just ignore the Connor and Cordelia stuff, but I'm going to try to put that aside.
Right.
But know that I probably hate it unless I say something different.
Right, and I don't think, again, your hatred for that storyline isn't necessarily unnatural from what they've given us so far. Mm-hmm. Like, we shouldn't have to squint.
Yes, we really...
And remember the continuity for us to be okay with this. Like, it is supposed to be irksome, and the way it's coming off on screen, it comes off worse than it probably actually is, but at the same time, no, it's just terrible. Mm-hmm. Like you said, it is flaming hot garbage.
Yeah, very much.
But, so, there's a responsibility to the writers and directors of the show to know how their product is coming on screen. So, no, like, if it hits us a certain way, then it hits us a certain way, you know? But yes, we did have the kind of, like, I guess we've had, we had the unnatural bashing of Lindsay.
No, yes, I think this is quite different. Because that was more just a personal issue I had with his face. And I also thought he was a terrible actor. But I'm trying to be less hyperbolic about my hate for Connor and Cordelia and come up with real reasons for why I think it is hot garbage. But I don't think I've done all right so far. I haven't. If I really want to find somebody who thinks they have just undeniable chemistry, because it's not even that I'm more on an Angel Cordelia side. I think it's weird. Like, I don't understand why.
It's the fact that he looks so young. That's what makes it weird. And I think part of it is the appearance. And obviously, knowing that she's pregnant, it also feels really bizarre. Mm-hmm. Just as a real world thing entering into the equation. But again, it's because he looks so young, because his build is kind of skinny, athletic, kind of Robin-ish.
Scrawny.
Scrawny is a good word, yeah. Well, he still feels like he has some tone to him, but he is skinny. It's so contrasted to Angel's bulky.
Well, it's really it has more to do with the fact that that's his mom.
Yeah. And they keep ignoring that fact.
Yeah.
And they even tried to, like in previous episodes, have Angel go, "Oh, you weren't his mom." It's like BS. Yeah. I was totally his mom.
Well, there was more things in his comment besides that. And no, I really wanted to talk about the fact that Connor is like really, really acting weird around Angel. Like, this is Angel's fault. Like, we saw him being self-aware that he thought that he deserved this punishment, and now it's like, you're mean and I don't like you. And haha, your girlfriend likes me now, so. Like that's a hard thing to sell, right? Because we already didn't like Connor.
Yeah,
but now
that's
you had us thinking that we were going to get somewhere with the character where he'd be a little bit more sympathetic, or we were going down the path where he was going to become a champion, and now he's pulling away from that by being really petty and he really is driving home this love triangle thing.
Yeah, like we even commented
he's definitely lusting after Cordelia more than she is after from what's been shown. He is really interested in her, and he shows up sneaking around, not letting Angel know, and then he does seem to take maybe a perverse bit of pleasure in telling Angel that he's there for blankets, because there's no reason to tell Angel that she hogs the covers.
Right.
Yeah, I don't like it. It makes him even more unlikable, and that's... Because what is the reason why he doesn't like him? Besides what we've been shown, I mean, he already seemed to come to the opinion that he was in the wrong there.
Well, he did come to the opinion that he was wrong, but that is still ingrained as part of his character.
Yeah, but...
and I don't know if they're trying to just keep him as the, like, rebellious teenager storyline that they keep going with, but I don't know. It is disappointing because we were like, we have probably one of the strongest characters and most likable characters, and we compare them together and then see what's good about him. Mm-hmm. Like if Cordelia, not likes him, but if Cordelia has this relationship with Connor, again, not a relationship, but this
we
friendship
all know what you
can
mean.
Actually, exactly, that we can actually like pull stuff out of Connor and get the character that's underneath all of this surface level crap.
But they're doubling down on the parts of Connor,
right,
which is just, it's disappointing, and it's strange because again, there's so much about season 4 that we can't really talk about because a lot of this season ends up being a cumulative effect. But I don't like... As for where the story is going, it is not satisfying in getting there for me. And that could change if the conclusion is amazing, but again, I think you know how I feel about it. Hot garbage.
All right. So you ready to move on?
Yeah.
So next up we have a comment from Alicia who says, "This episode was better than last episode. The good. Did I hear a scream? It's just Fred. I think it's a Texas thing. Wesley watching Fred's speech and kind of like the old Wesley. I liked it. I like that Wesley was ready to help. He might be going crazy and flooping with Lila, but he still cares about Fred. I liked when Angel ripped the roof off Lila's car. I liked how when Angel was trying to figure out who opened the portal, Gunn asked why Angel never tried this trick before. Angel reading a comic book makes me laugh. They talk about me in the chatty rooms. I love how excited Angel was about that. How about a flail whipping? Would that take a nice long time? Hours if you do it right. Not that you should do it at all, ever. You know what they say about payback. Well, I'm the bitch. Come on, I'm holding your head. Other. Connor seems annoyed that Cordelia is stealing the covers. Also, Cordelia and Connor kissing was disturbing. Pylea is a hell dimension, actually not as bad as Kortoth. I did like the Wesley Fred scenes, even if she just went to him to try to help her kill the professor. So, did Gunn kill the professor before he threw him into the portal? So thank you, Alicia. That was another thing that Joseph brought up, but they had some really funny one-liners to kind of cut the tension of...
Well, they talk about me in the chatty rooms might be one of my favorite, and it's the most appropriate for this episode. I mean, this podcast, really. That's what I meant, this podcast. In the chatty rooms.
Yeah, that is crazy thinking. I don't want to go back. This is 2001, so we're 14 years removed.
2.
Oh, is this 2? Okay.
I'm sure it was actually relating to the chatty rooms then as well.
Yeah, kind of the birth of all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The internet in early 2000s is not the same as the internet.
Back in my days.
Speaking about, I do find it interesting now that we know that Fred was sent to Pylea, that he sent her to Pylea and not Kortos. Because Pylea wasn't that bad. It was bad if you were a human. It was terrible if you were a human. But Kortos seems to just be a hellish, all-around place. The worst hell dimension in the world. Actually, we haven't really talked about Seidel's motivation.
Yeah, and so from what we got from the Cordelia vision from when we were first introduced to Fred, was that she was reading the book, and that's what sent her to Pylea.
But he could have easily been on the other side of the shelf or something.
Okay,
I don't think it is that. It is obviously not planned from the beginning that she was sent by a professor.
Okay.
But I think there is enough a way that you could make it work, or even he sent her to take that...
Get the book or whatever, read the thing.
Yeah. So there's enough... It was vague enough that I think you can work around it that Seidel sent her. I guess if he's just like... He is kind of a serial killer, but he's not. He could probably rationalize himself that he's not actually killing these people. He's just sending them away because they threatened him.
Threaten him intellectually.
Yeah, well, career-wise. Well, what does he... I was more confused about what he... Is he just cozying up to Fred again to just send her away?
I guess. I mean, he tries several attempts to.
I guess that's true, yeah, okay. Because I was just...
Like, maybe...
He was not the greatest villain, I would say.
The other thing was he was probably trying to cover his tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. Like, he almost did nothing. He almost said nothing.
Yeah.
Like...
He's just kind of there, so...
There wasn't anything very villainous about him. Mm-hmm. It was more like he's a coward. Mm-hmm. And so how he...
that fits with what his MO is just sending college students away in portals.
Right.
And his Selena Kyle from Batman Returns assistant before she becomes Catwoman, which is really wimpy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that is Batman Returns, right? The second one? Was that Batman Forever? Who cares? But that's not about this episode.
Well, we can't go a single episode without at least mentioning some Batman.
Or just some comic reference that's off topic. I don't have anything more to say about Alicia's comment on Supersymmetry. Which I feel, even though that's how they pronounce it in the episode, I feel like that's not the correct pronunciation. It seems too easy. It doesn't seem like a real word. But apparently it is. But then again, I'm stupid, so...
No, we can move on.
Okay. Alright, so next up we have Alicia's comment on slashing towards Bethlehem. And she said, this was not a good episode, so I'm going to make this comment quick. The good. Angel thinking he's hallucinating St. Cordelia. Like Fred in this episode, she was funny gesturing behind Cordelia and mouthing to Angel. Cordelia reading the yearbook was funny. Angel and Fred awkwardly waving to Cordelia was funny. So was Angel running off to hide from Cordelia, and Cordelia calling Angie was funny. I was a cheerleader, a princess, a warrior, and I have visions and superpowers. I like Lauren this episode. The bad. Connor's creepy at the beginning. Lauren's client was gross. Connor comforting Cordelia through Connor's speech, but the only thing Cordelia got out of it was she likes donuts. So, thank you, Alicia. As you can tell, my voice is not still perfect. Because it is crapping out. So, wrap it up quickly.
Well,
I'm running out of water.
She pulls out a lot of, the good, funny moments that stood out in the episode. And even thinking back to episodes back, that's the things that kind of stand out to me from the episode. Was the awkward waving to Cordelia and her going, that's creepy. The little funny moments, the Cordelia funny moments where she is actually acting like Cordelia. I don't know what they're going to do with Lord going forward, but yeah, again, I liked him in the episode as well. And Connor being creepy is nothing new.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Okay. I will say that in this episode, I find it really easy that Norton's like, well, I'm not going to read Cordelia again. And I don't particularly like that explanation. Because I buy that Lauren's not really a champion, but I think he's not that selfish that he would put aside the end of the world for being attacked again. If they know it's coming, I think they can prepare better.
Yes, I don't think it's... Again, I gave my explanation why I liked it, but I think that if you go to that well too often, it kind of makes it kind of cheap. But I like them having to go to other resources, and if they could have the thing where it's like it's drilled out of his mind, or if they go back to it later, maybe they just wanted to introduce the concept of the big bad, and maybe that they'll have him read later on or do something else. Then maybe we can actually circumvent that. So I don't necessarily have a problem as long as they readdress it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So favorite moments and scores?
Sure. My favorite moment is Lila walking in on Wesley, or at least noting Wesley at the lecture hall. Mm-hmm. Because I find that, as I've said before, that I think all my favorite moments, or at least most of them, from this season have been Lila and Wesley moments. Because the way that she is genuinely hurt by that, and we can still have her idea of a gift is giving him a old helmet because they've been butting heads. And they promise that obviously they're going to keep butting heads. I find that dichotomy interesting as much as Wesley himself is a dichotomy.
I just find it's so weird that I can think of that relationship and be like, oh, that's a really cute moment for them. Because of just the nature of those two characters and how they interact. But again, I think that is a cute moment. Like something that solidifies that as a kind of a real relationship with real feelings and everything, but to then see him kind of just brush her off is interesting.
Yeah.
But, so what I ended up going with was Fred's kind of transition into the I'm going to kill him and that whole speech. Again, a lot of the commenters picked up on this moment as well about, just the performance that Amy Acker is able to do and how it can still feel, even though it's kind of thrust at us, that it can still feel in her character just because of how she performs it. She makes it still feel within her character, and there's a darkness there that is really striking, that I really enjoyed.
Okay. Score before I lose my voice completely. I'm going to give this one 63 because I enjoyed it. The end.
The end?
I'm giving it a 63 because I found some problems with it, as we've talked about. I don't think the writing is particularly that strong for Fred's story, but I think Amy Acker makes up for any kind of the defaults, but still it's not that great. Angel doesn't do anything in this episode. I think Gunn snapping Seidel's neck is all a shock factor and not a lot of satisfying moments for this. The Connor and Cordelia stuff, it just gets even worse if that was possible. But then kind of maybe redeems itself, or at least shows there's some promise for it getting better by the end. Or
some self-awareness. Yeah.
There's some glimmer of hope. But yeah.
Well, that's been most of the storylines that we have issues with. There's still the glimmer of hope, even with Gunn.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure that the Gunn thing we can write off as it's been one full season. He's been around since the
end of the first
the end of the first season, so it's really been like more, but so keep waiting. But still not.
I'll keep crossing my fingers. Yeah. They'll hurt, but they're still there.
We're running out of time.
I'm going to end up giving this a 66 out of 100, which is strange because I did find myself enjoying the episode quite a bit. But like you, there are some issues. The Connor-Cordelia storyline makes me feel awful, nauseating feelings. But again, it's supposed to. But at the same time,
nobody knows.
I think it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But maybe not to the degree that they're expecting. But no. I like the Fred storyline that they're telling. You also brought up about the bad guy and Angel not really doing anything, and some of the other things that not necessarily they're not spinning their wheels, but they're just not doing anything. So it takes some hits in that direction, but other than that, I still find myself enjoying it. And honestly, I've been giving a lot of the episodes pretty high ratings, so that's kind of surprising me.
Sure.
All right. And if you'd like to leave us some feedback, you can do so by commenting on the post at theangelrewatch.wordpress.com.
Or you said it. Or you can send an email to angelrewatch@gmail.com.
Or you can call our voicemail number at 206-203-3276.
Or you can go to the Tumblr, which is angelrewatch.tumblr.com, to see all the reviews archived during the guests of the episodes.
We're available on YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher. While you're there, leave us a review. It really helps promote the show. You can follow me on Twitter at NerdGuyWilliam.
And you can follow me on Twitter and Tumblr at The Comfortor.
He made it. And next time, we'll be reviewing Spin the Bottle, where Lorne attempts a spell on Cordelia to restore her memory, which results in the gang reverting to their memories as teenagers.